Innotribe. Please welcome Innotribe Startup Challenge Manager, Kevin Johnson.
Good morning, everybody. I think by Thursday, Ben will get my job title right, and maybe I'll change jobs by then. Thank you very much for that introduction, and welcome to the Innotribe space. Welcome back to some of you. Welcome to some new faces. I've got a few quick things that I'd like to start off with, and I'd like to say some thank yous. Thank you to everybody yesterday who came to see one of our sessions. We had a hugely successful day. I'd like to put that in some pictures and some numbers. So for those of you who weren't here and couldn't get in the door yesterday, we were slightly busy yesterday. This is some pictures from our New Kids on the Blockchain session. We weren't only full here, but we overtook the Swift stand as well. So we did a nice stress test on the Swift stand this morning. I think we put a few dents in the understructure, but it held. So thank you very much for making that really successful. And the second session I'd like to highlight is our Future of Money session. We did a session upstairs in Conference Room 2. Now that room normally holds 360 people. I think we went a little bit over. It was standing room only. We even had to turn people away because there wasn't even anywhere to stand. In terms of numbers, we had some really impressive numbers. I'll start with the biggest one, 2,000. Now, I think this is, I'm seeing a few people who've sort of helped with this one. This is from our coffee bar. We served over 2,000 cups of coffee yesterday alone. We've catered for 10,000 for the week, so please don't stop coming there. It's absolutely amazing coffee. The guys out there are doing a sterling job. Please keep them busy. The next number, 1,426. Still a very big number. This is how many people we saw through the Innotribe sessions yesterday. And this is just the ones that we scanned coming in the door here and in upstairs. So if you were here yesterday, you were part of a huge number. From the team, thank you from the bottom of my heart. From everybody here, where's Peter? There he is. Stand up, Peter. So everything you saw yesterday, everything you've seen here today has been in this guy's head for the past 6 months. And I think yesterday this big number is a huge validation. Thank you, Peter. Now, as you can see, this room's quite small. And I think we've got an official capacity of about 110, 120. Okay. This number here, 179, is how many people we managed to squeeze in when everybody got very friendly during the blockchain session yesterday. Please don't tell anybody. We might get in a bit of trouble. And then I said for the room upstairs that had a capacity of 366. Well, we beat that one as well. So we had 622 people come in yesterday for the Future of Money. I can only really thank you from the team for all your support and all your enthusiasm. But what I want to do now, rather than talking numbers about yesterday, I want to talk about lessons learned. And rather than me talking about this, we had an anchor person who's with us for all of our sessions. He's an expert on platforms. Yesterday was all about platforms, so I'd like to welcome on the stage Chris Wasden. Chris?
Thank you, Kevin. So yesterday we kicked it off with the New Kids on the Blockchain. And what was fascinating about that is as we listened to what people talked about, it was very clear that we've gone from an idea that was violently opposed and ridiculed in the past, and now has become accepted as conventional wisdom. There was no debate about whether or not blockchain was going to be adopted. The debate was about where it would be adopted first, how quickly, and then what it would transform. And so much of the debate was really about, are we going to be using blockchain to transform transactions first, or are we going to use it to transform contracts and workflow around contracts? So this is the process we see with any sort of new truth, that it goes through these three phases of being rejected, radically vilified, and then finally adopted as conventional wisdom. The next thing we did is we then talked about the future of money. And we went upstairs and we had 600 people in this crammed area. Not only was it standing room only, but it was standing room many people deep only. And in the front of the room, we ended up having the startups. In the back of the room, we had the more established bankers. The startup guys were telling us about how they can collect tens of thousands of data points and within a matter of seconds make credit decisions to lend money. the guys at the back of the room said, well, we gather a few hundred data points and we make decisions over several days or weeks, but we get paid back. The startup guy said, do you think that I could have just raised $100 million by not being paid back? I'm getting paid back, and using my new credit scoring capabilities, I'm actually experiencing high levels of profitability with very low loss rates. Now, what was interesting with that is it became very clear that these two different groups have very different views, worldviews, about how you make credit decisions, how you collect money, how you get greater efficiency in the banking system by using automation and technology as opposed to brute force and lots of people. What we've got to figure out, and that's part of what discussions today and the rest of the week will be about, is how do we get collaboration among these very focused small companies that are really changing the world through different paradigms of technology and innovation than the big companies have. And how do we then get this collaboration to help really change the world? Next, we went into platform disruption, the business of APIs. What I found interesting there is that while we oftentimes think about API as a technology, almost all the discussion was about how APIs are the way to change the culture, the process, the business models of banks. And how every single product we have has to be embedded in an API so that it can be shared. So APIs are productizing the market in a new way. But most importantly, what they're really doing is they're disaggregating the bank. They're unbundling the bank. And when we talked about that, what we realized is that banking organizations, as they become committed to APIs, are really committed to a wholesale restructuring of their bank, wholesale restructuring of their processes, and also an elevation of a person or a type of person within their organization that in the past had been a fairly lowly level person, and that's the developer, the programmer. Where the programmer now are the sorts of people that if you want to get top talent, you have to give them something that's worthy of their efforts, something that engages them and excites them. Otherwise, you're not going to get good quality talent from Facebook or Google or other sort of tech companies. And they're only going to work on problems that are easy to work on because the APIs are easy to use. And so if you don't develop good APIs, you can't get good talent and you can't get good collaboration with other parties. So APIs are becoming not just a technology that's important to banking, but one that actually revolutionizes the structures, the process, and the business models of banks. Next, we talked about killer platforms, the Chinese road to platform disruption. We compared and we contrasted China with India. And there are a couple of very stark and surprising contrasts. One is the three biggest technology companies in China are Chinese companies. They're Baidu, they're WeChat, they're Alibaba. The three big technology companies in India are Google, Twitter, and Facebook. Now, this has a profound impact on how tech is transforming finance in the two countries. In China, the three big technology companies are three big and exponentially growing finance companies. The speaker talked about how his WeChat app that he uses dozens of times a day is the place where he has his credit card, he does his taxis, he actually shares and transfers money with friends with some sort of peer-to-peer sharing. And so these tech companies are becoming fintech companies that are transforming commerce in China, where Alibaba is on the road to becoming a $1 trillion financial institution. In India, we're starting to see other tech companies emerge there, but they're not the US tech companies in fintech, they're domestic companies or companies like the telcos. The other thing that was pointed out, which I thought was very important, and this got into some of our discussions we had later in the day, is that in China, tech is meeting and satisfying a huge pain point in the country with regards to financial inclusion and providing financial services. Whereas in the United States, it's more of a luxury to use fintech in a better way because we have tremendous inclusion in the US and in the Western Europe. And so the view is that China is and will continue to be the most revolutionary force in fintech in the world. That they are the ones who are going to transform financial services in the world because they're meeting a fundamental pain point and need of that market that can't be met any other way. Then finally, we ended the day with exploring real-world disruptions and scenarios. And it was a great way to end the day because what we did is we took everything we learned during the entire day and we brought it into this one final session. And we talked about what we thought were the key drivers and forces transforming financial services. We asked some polling questions, as we did in all the sessions, but in this final session, we asked some polling questions around what do we think are going to be the primary drivers of transformation and revolution in financial services. The two that got over 66% of all the votes were the consumer, which is the same force we see in all digital disruption, and the government. And what's interesting with the government is that the government has become very driven, very forceful, very energetic in their desire to drive transformation in financial services through blockchain, through digital technologies. And so they're really now partnered with the consumer because consumers vote. And consumers are saying to their governments and their regulators, I have a certain experience with Amazon or Google or Facebook, and that tells me certain things are possible. And if they're possible in all these other aspects of my life, like travel, like ordering a car, like getting my digital media, why can't I have these exact same experiences in financial services? If Amazon can deliver a package to me in 24 hours, why does it take my bank 2 days to resolve a financial issue or to do settlement? And so now we start to see these forces driving the financial services industry towards transformation. We asked some questions about who are the winners, who are the losers. We did a little bit of scenario work. The number one choice about winners was Alibaba. It wasn't a US fintech company. We had lists of them all along the wall. None of those were chosen as the real winner. So it was interesting that a Chinese tech company was chosen as the winner in fintech globally. We also asked who are the losers. One name came up again and again and again, Western Union. So we'll see whether or not the audience, the crowdsourced answers were right or not. And with that, we then ended by talking about what are the strategic choices and real options that you need to create in order to have the flexibility to be successful in this new dynamic world. We talked about Kodak and the Kodak moments, and how Kodak invented digital technology in their area. They saw what was going to happen. They even had a forecast about how many years they had before their world completely transformed, and their forecasts were not that far off. They had scenarios of their future, but they were so focused on using new technology to sustain the status quo, to support the existing business model, instead of creating a new business model, that their own technology that they invented was their own undoing. And we know the rest of the story. So that's what happened yesterday. It sets us up for great discussions about collaboration in the future.
Thank you, Chris. So while I'm making my way to the front, if you're standing at the back, there are still some seats here at the front. You're welcome to come forward. And I'm going to give a little talk while you do that. So if you want to come and sit down, you're welcome to. If you're happy at the back, that's fine as well. I'm going to reflect on one of the themes that sort of came out through the Future of Money session and through the Innotribe keynote that Fabian delivered yesterday. And the biggest message that we're coming out with, and Chris touched on it a couple of times, is about collaboration. We see there's a strong desire from within the industry, from the Future of Money session, to collaborate with the startups, and the startups want to collaborate with the industry as well. So reflecting on that overnight, I've pulled together this small sort of presentation as a how-to guide to successful collaboration, looking at some of the lessons from yesterday, some of the lessons we've learned from Innotribe over the years, to try and give you guys some ideas as to how we can do this. So I'm going to start with why. Whenever we speak with our startups, whenever we coach them, we say start with why. Hit people why this is important. This map that you can see here on the screens around the room is our Innotribe Startup Challenge map from this year. This shows where fintech innovation is happening with the startup companies that applied to the Startup Challenge, and it's a pretty good snapshot globally. If you're in the financial industry, there's a pretty good chance you'll recognize some of your business lines in these bubbles. Fintech is happening everywhere. This just goes to prove it. The lines between this are showing that everything is linked together as well. So the why is because it is happening right now. These guys are speaking to your customers. They're helping make your customers' lives easier. So why are there so many startups? Yesterday we had McKinsey here with some breaking news about Panorama, said there are 12,000 fintechs globally. We'd see 370, it's kind of a representative snapshot we feel, but 12,000 globally. It's a huge number. Where have they all come from? Well, if we look back in time, back in the year 2000, it's reckoned that to launch a tech startup would have cost you somewhere near $5 million US. Yes, just looking at me a little bit suspiciously. Double. Okay. So I didn't produce this slide, is my caveat on this one. But it was a huge number to do this. If we take 5 years leap forward, the advances in open source technology, the software being available, and horizontal scaling, so you could throw more machines at a problem to fix things relatively quickly, we've taken a zero off that, so it's a 10-fold decrease to launch the startup. So from 5 million or 10 million down to 500,000. That's 5 years. If we leap forward another 4 years, you've got the advent of cloud technology or cloud computing, Amazon Web Services. You no longer need to throw hardware at it yourself. You can ask Amazon to turn a server on or off at will. The big hardware companies are still providing these guys, they're just providing different customers. And then we're saying that it's gone down tenfold again, so from 500 to 50,000, but instead of 5 years, we're talking 4. If you take another leap forward 2 years, we're now saying it's about 5,000. It's taking another zero off. It's going exponentially quicker. If we extrapolate that now, we're talking somewhere between 50 and 500 bucks to launch a tech startup. It's democratized access to the technology. People are able to go out there and start a company up with a single focus on a single idea because the cost of failure is so small. So why should we care that there's all these startups everywhere in the world? I'm going to share a little anecdote with you, hopefully a little bit humorous. I've got a 3-year-old daughter. Love her to bits, but whenever she thinks of a phone, this is what she thinks is a phone. She goes, "Daddy, can I have your iPhone?" I go, "No. Daddy, I want to play on your iPhone." I've foolishly put some games on there and let her play on it, and whenever I'm on my iPhone doing work or surfing the net, which I call work, she tries to grab my phone off me. When I was 3, this is what I thought a phone looked like. Had a cable, had a handset. When my dad was 3, this is what he thought a phone looked like. I still kind of remember that. I'm not that old. But anyway, this leads me to the simple question, what's a phone going to look like when my grandchildren are 3? What's anything going to look like in 5, 10, 15 years' time? We hope here at Innotribe we can give you some of those answers, but like I said, the pace of change is exponential. We went from 2000, where we're 5 million, to now where we're talking peanuts to start up a company. So the key message that came out of yesterday, this collaboration message, is as an industry, we are absolutely on the ball with scale. We understand scale. We can do this really well. As an industry, we grow things to scale. We're secure. We understand this. The startups are excellent at speed, at agility, at single-minded focus. If you don't know what that is on the right, it's Bloodhound SSC. Its single purpose in life is to reach 1,000 miles an hour. It's got a rocket engine. It's got a Formula One engine just driving fuel into it. It's just designed to go quickly. How can we bring this single-minded focus of a startup, the agility, the speed, together with the scale of the industry? If we can do that well, we can do what we need to do. And our raison d'etre, our mission as financial industry, is to help serve our customers better. If we can do this, with fintech startups, collaboration. It's surely going to be better for our customers, which end result is better for our bottom line. So there is an imperative to do this. Disruption is yesterday's buzzword. I don't mean yesterday, I mean a while ago. We now need to move on to talk about the C word. There are a few people in the room going, which C words are you going to go on? And it's obvious which one I'm going to go on. It's collaboration. It's all about working with others, getting the best benefits out there. Now, I think when I started this, I said I was going to give you a practical how-to guide. I don't think I've done that yet. So what I want to do now is talk you through a few things that you can do while you're thinking about this space. First one is identify. And this is in two parts. The first thing you need to do is identify what areas you want to collaborate on. It's no good going out there and saying, this is a great startup, if that's not where you want to collaborate on. You're just going to go out and find a great company. So you identify where you want to collaborate, and then you identify which companies you want to work with. Could be existing providers, could be startups, could be other institutions. Doesn't have to always be around startups. So the collaboration message isn't just big and small. It's big and big, small and small, big and small. It's a mixture of. Once you've identified who you want to work with, talk to them. The reason you talk to them is because a huge part of collaboration isn't just about working together, it's working and getting on together. It's culture. Do these people fit with what you're trying to do? Are they going to gel with your organization, or are they going to react against it badly and be expelled from the organization? And while you're talking, stop for a while and listen. This is true for both sides. The startup industry has got some great insights. They've seen some problems. They've got this single-minded focus, and I'm going to fix this. This is how it's going to work. Sometimes those blinkers mean they don't actually understand how it's working under the hood. So as an industry, we can bring that to the table as well. It's not a one-sided street. It's a two-sided conversation. It's talking, it's listening. Once you've done this, you can start to learn. Whether you actually work with somebody you choose to collaborate with, or you've just sat down and had a conversation with them, you will always walk away with a learning. And this is truly important. If you don't do the listening piece, you cannot learn. If you do the talking, they will learn and you will not. So it's really about a two-way conversation. It carries on, Miesha. The next one is invest. Now, for some people in the room, am I talking about going out on your balance sheet, putting money in these companies? Well, that's one definition of invest. Another one is time. Can you spend some time to sit down with these guys, to talk with them, to work through some problems, to do things? If you can do that, it doesn't have to be that you're investing in these companies. Working with them can lead to one thing, a proof of concept. So you've gone from, we have a problem, we know who we're going to work with, we've identified a cultural fit with them, we've invested some time with them, and we've got something tangible at the end of this that we can either grow and scale as an industry, or we can say, okay, that's a learning. We didn't do the right thing, we'll try again. Now, for those of you observant enough, you'll notice it's also our logo, so there's a little bit of a plug there. This is what we try and do with Innotribe. We try and bring startups in. Around the outside of this very space, we have 11 growth stage companies. Tomorrow afternoon, during our Startup Challenge finale, we'll have another 12 companies upstairs pitching in conference room 2. On Monday yesterday, we had some blockchain startups in. On Thursday, we've got some startups talking about big data and analytics. There are over 30 startups that we've brought to Sibos this year. Take a little bit of that time, invest some time, sit down, talk with them, listen to them, and see what you can learn and what you can teach them as well. So I encourage you to go after this, grab a coffee, and have a wander around and see who's out there. So that's it from me on this one. I'm now going to talk you through what we're doing for the rest of the week. Okay, this happened yesterday as well. I'm going to have a word. So the good news is we have some breaking news today. Now, we've got a company that's going to come up on stage and join me very shortly, who did their first commercial launch with us a couple of years ago at Innotribe. And we've recently heard they've got some news. They've held it back, and it really is breaking news. So I'm really pleased to say I'm going to hand the floor over now to the founder and CEO of Bank, Brett King. Bank or just Moven?
Moven, man.
Moven. Brett.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Kevin. Thanks to Kevin, thanks to Peter and Fabio for giving me this opportunity. We launched at Innotribe in Toronto, and so it's great to be able to give this news here. We dropped the bank, though. It's just moving. Millennials said banks aren't cool. I don't know. So anyway, so the news we have today for you guys is that we are announcing our Series B funding round here at Sibos Innotribe. So we're very pleased with this. It's a 12 million round led by, Pascal, stand up, our friends at Route 66. It's great to have your support. And, back in the investment is, of course, our friends Anthemis back in the investment. And Atlas Capital, SBT, Standard Bank all are in this round as well. There's some other private investors who are invested. So it's a nice, healthy round for us. Ostensibly, this is to grow our global footprint. So this is the collaboration piece. We've already launched with Westpac in New Zealand. I'm going to show you some small numbers about how we're going there. We're launching with TD. In fact, our soft launch is next month with TD. And we are looking at, this is currently the relationships we're pursuing around the world. So we are very much in the US, we're direct to consumer. We have 150,000 users there in the US right now. And we're direct to consumer in the US, and that's sort of our lab for then working out the product and maturing the product and then rolling it out with our partners around the globe. Our objective is to have 50 million users on this platform over the next few years. So with the global partnerships that we'll be announcing over the coming months, we'll see this starting to take place. This is definitely a collaborative approach with bank partners. We're to continue to hire, obviously, as we grow. These are 3 of the new team members we're bringing on. Some of you may know Greg Mippo, who ran Oracle's enterprise solutions team globally for many years. He did a lot of work in Asia. He's joined us to head up our enterprise team with movement out of the US. And Vince Bark, who comes from the Digitus customer experience team, working with companies like MasterCard and Amex. But here's the real interest in Moven that the banks are showing. We have phenomenal engagement through Moven right now. On average, customers are using the platform 30 to 72 times a month. Right? And this is phenomenal engagement that we're achieving. Our cost of acquisition in the US now is below $6 for an account opening, compared with the average in the United States of $275 to acquire a checking account user. This is phenomenal. Right? Now this happens because we don't sell a bank account to customers. We sell an experience, a wellness experience that's really built around the app. Financial health, helping you spend and save smarter. And this is the app. You can see the app turns green when you're being financially healthy. It turns red when you're being financially destructive, right? So in real-time feedback, when you tap your phone to pay, you get immediate feedback around your financial health. Incorporating this as other experiences as well, such as impulse savings in real time, emergency cash, wish list fulfillment, and so forth. Now, why this is important is we have a prototype product in the market we're deploying, we're getting it out there, we're testing this stuff, refining it for our bank partners to deploy in their markets. What we do for banks is we bend space and time. Okay? We can get this deployed in 5 to 6 months with a bank partner at 1/20th of the cost that you could build it yourself. And we have better metrics than any mobile banking app that's out there today. That's where collaboration with a fintech will take you. And that's the opportunity. So if you guys have some interest in being a bank partner with Moven, please reach out to us. Get Moven's our Twitter handle. You can contact me through LinkedIn. You can contact Greg at Moven as well, and we'd be happy to do that. Just one final piece is that we are going to do a book signing later today as well, right? So
Stolen my thunder.
yeah, this is my. Oh, you're going to do that, are you?
Go on.
Sorry. Well, Kevin, I'll.
Okay. So, well, I've learned one thing today.
What's that?
Not to give Brett too many slides. And also that you're called Moven, not Movin'. So
Yeah, thanks, man.
thank you very much, Brett.
Thank you
So-
very much.
Brett. And yeah, as Brett said, can we just rewind slightly? Can we? Can I get Brett's slide up? Hey, okay. So yeah, as Brett said, well, as he stole my thunder, as I said, after the Millennials session, which is straight after this one, Brett's going to be outside. He's going to be signing postcards of his new book, Augmented, Life in the Smart Lane. We don't have the print copies of the book, but we do have A sample chapter. Wow. So not only are you running a successful fintech startup and doing a radio show, you also find time to write books as well. Brett, chapeau. Anyway, I'm going to carry on now. So what I want you to do is have a look at the brochures that some of you have got in your hands. These brochures are our week program. They were put together by my colleague, who may or may not be hiding in the back of the room. I can see her there. So the brochures here are really a labor of love. They're about our program for the week. I gave her a big round of applause yesterday. I'd like to do the same again today. Audrey, you really put your heart and soul into this. I thank you on behalf of the team. I thank you on behalf of everybody who's got a copy. If you'd like to thank somebody for what you've got in front of you, she's at the back of the room. I'd like you to all give her a big round of applause. So this week we've split into 4 days, which is kind of normal, but we've actually taken a topic per day. Yesterday, as you heard from Chris, we did everything on platforms. Today, I'm going to invite Akhtar up very shortly to talk about what we're doing on society, so I won't try and equal what he's going to do, because it's phenomenal what he's going to be talking about. To give you a heads up, the next 2 days, on Wednesday, we're going to take a deep dive on an innovation. We're going to take 8 of the world's leading fintech hubs, and we're going to bring them here in the Innotribe space to talk about why banks need fintech hubs. Promises to be a great session there. After that session there, we're going to be upstairs in conference room 2, where we've got our Startup Challenge Grand Final. So I'd love you guys to all come along to that one. And then on Thursday, we're going to take a deep dive on machine intelligence. We're going to bring some robots into the Innotribe space. We're going to kick off with IBM Watson. The Pepper robot that's currently on the DBS stand is going to make her way down here, and she's going to welcome people into the space. And we're going to talk about machine intelligence and how this is going to change the future of the world. But rather than looking too far into the future, I'd like to talk about today. Well, actually, I wouldn't like to talk about today. I'd like to get somebody onto the stage who's far more qualified. I'd like you to give a big round of applause and welcome onto the stage Akhtar Badshah. Akhtar, floor's yours, if you can get here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kevin. And it's good morning to everybody, and it's just amazing to be here. I was invited by Peter, who was sitting there, to come from Seattle, and he said, "You got to be part of Innotribe." What you are here and what you are part of is a phenomenal experience. You're all about technology and creativity. And it is technology and creativity which Peter puts together to have transformational impact. So if you want to be financial about it, it's C plus T equals TI. It's not about disruptive impact. It is about transformational impact. What you see behind is some of my artwork, which I actually try and use to look at transformational impact. It is the duality that we all in this industry have. Technology and the ability to use technology to transform people's lives, because financial security is the main thing that is necessary for people to be secure and stable. What this Innotribe 4 days is all about is, you saw yesterday, was about platforms. You got a glimpse of where the future is going. Today, it is all about designing that future. You want to invite every single friend of yours to be here so that we can together design what the future looks like. Tomorrow, it's about putting that design future into the hands of innovators so that they can take it to the next level. And then it is about scaling that future. What is the future? The future is about technology and devices to bring about change. I have this Time magazine here which talks about the Exodus. But the interesting piece is about this: searching for a signal. The smartphone is the refugee's best friend. You just need to change one word. the smartphone is everyone's best friend. But it is not just the smartphone. It is about how can you transform services so that every single individual can utilize it with a device that they carry on themselves. Which is why today, you will start off by hearing about the millennials. How are we going to serve them? What is the technology that is required, and how are you going to think about it? That's what Movin is doing, and they shared to us just now. The next is about financial inclusion. In Peru, heads of the largest financial institutions are meeting. I don't know why they are not here, because this is a far more important gathering, to talk about emerging markets. But how do we get financial inclusion to the unbanked? We're then going to talk about how do we think about regulations. Are regulations necessary? What kinds of changes are required for the regulations so that we can scale this transformation in a way that it has the impact where it needs to be? We're then going to talk about the people on the move. People that are moving from one location to another, whether you call them migrants, whether you call them refugees, and what kinds of services that they require. It was very interesting for me to read here that, as you can see, almost every one of them is carrying the smartphone because it has mapping, it has WhatsApp, it has other services that allows them to locate and communicate. What was starkly missing was apps that provide them with the financial security and the linkages that they need to be able to take on that journey. It is our task to figure that out. And then we are also going to have the session with the World Economic Forum. So that's our challenge today. Our challenge is to be able to look at these 4 sessions and dream and design, combine the two, technology and creativity, and come up with solutions. Why is it important? It is important because we need to be able to sit at the cusp of creating solutions that can have impact, that are needed by society, but we also need to create solutions that can become financially viable and function as a business. Because that is what they need. That is what the community of the future requires, viable solutions. And I think as a business, you guys are sit in that place where you can do both. You can create, you can implement, you can scale, and you can have then the transformative impact. So ladies and gentlemen, this is what our charge is for the day. I hope that you will continue to be part of this, and I'm looking forward to seeing what we develop so that we can then hand it over to the innovators tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Akhtar. We asked you to give a preview of the day, and I think you've just given a session yourself. Truly inspiring. So we've got a lot more of that today. Our next session starts at 10:15. Yesterday we had a few capacity problems, so we've tried fixing that in a couple of ways. We've got a TV outside, so if there's a couple of people who can't get in, they can watch it there with a coffee from the bar. If there's a large crowd, like some of our sessions, we're actually building up an overflow room, so we'll get that ready for you guys as well. If you want to stay, stay. If you want to go, grab yourself a coffee, come back in. We're going to get started at 10:15 sharp. Thank you to everybody who's come up today, to Brett, to Akhtar, and thank you to all of you. Enjoy the rest of the day, and I hope to see you again. Thank you.